Welcome to Your Mac Life for Wednesday, August the 3rd, the first Wednesday in August. Summer halfway over, unfortunately, at least here in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. I'm your host, Shawn King. Thank you guys very much for joining me, whether you tuned in live or listening into the archive. We always love you guys tuning in, no matter how you manage to do it. As always, send us emails to onair@yourmaclifeshow.com. If you have any comments, questions, queries, curiousness that you would like to have talked about on the show or want me to read or whatever it is. Anything at all. On air at yourmaclifeshow.com. On tonight's show, as always, we're going to talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. We'll talk to Jim about squirt guns, about the fact that Apple has or is going to remove the gun emoji out of their emoji list and replace it with a squirt gun. What do you think of that? Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? We'll talk to Jim Dalrymple about that. And we also want to get your thoughts and opinions about it as well. We're also going to talk to Jim. Jim's got this sudden fascination with telescopes, with astronomy. And we'll talk to him about where that came from. And a bunch of other stuff, too. On our starting point photography segment, we are going to be talking about travel photography. As I said on last week's show, and we'll continue to say, fingers crossed, we're narrowing it down. This trip, this photo workshop trip, is now narrowed down to after Easter 2017 to Portugal. 9 days in Portugal. So what we're going to talk about at various times over the next months, about traveling and about taking pictures while you travel. What to look for, what to shoot, what not to shoot. We'll do that in our starting point photography segment. A couple of housekeeping things. So we all know what this dongle is. This is a USB cable, right? And quite often we have a USB port and we stick the USB cable in, and as I just did, 50-50 shot, you get it wrong, right? So you got to take it out and you flip it over and you have to plug it in, all right? Well, this company, Winner Gear, sends me this fully reversible micro USB card. So it's a fully reversible USB card. USB cable, sorry. And it's a nice red cable. Red is nice color for the cable. But rather than having that end that plugs into your computer, which is only the one-sided, this is a double-sided USB cable. Why the hell aren't all USB cables built like this? So when you go to plug it in, it doesn't matter which way you plug it in. It plugs in that way, you flip it over, it plugs in that way. This is a no-brainer. USB should never have been single put it in bit. The male section should have always been a two-way. Look at that. It's a two-way USB cable. I think this is brilliant. Everyone should have a two-way USB cable. That's the greatest thing ever. The other thing is, if you have, if you order out for your own business cards, and first thing first, when you order your own business cards, get good business cards. Don't get the little cheap cardboard ones that are flimsy and floppy. It makes you look bad. It's like having a Gmail address or an AOL address or a Hotmail address as your company address. You just don't look professional. And when you give someone these flimsy business cards, it just, at least my impression is that you're not a serious person. You're not a serious company. This is a hobby for you. So upgrade your business cards. And do what I do, and I've been using these guys for years. This is a product placement, but I'm not getting paid for it. This is an unpaid placement. There is a company called Moo Cards, moo.com, and they've made my business cards for the last 10 years. I love these guys. Our good friend Monty designed these cards for me. So these are the business cards I hand out to people. But wait, there's more. So you can see that they're shiny, they're high gloss, they're stiff cards, they're high quality cards. But the best part about the Moo cards, and this is for those folks who sell things, not services, but sell things, objects, or you want to show something off. These Moo cards are double-sided. So on the back of the Moo card, I put my photography. So you can see in the back of these cards, these are all pictures that I've taken. These are all my photographs on the back of these Moo cards. I've taken every one of, upside down, right side up, I've taken every one of these pictures. And so what it is when I give someone a business card, I'll take out like a stack of them. I'll take out 4 or 5, and rather than give them that side, I show them this. Like I fan them out like this. I say, here, pick one, and they'll go, huh? And they find a picture that they like, and they'll go, oh, that's a nice picture, and they flip it over, and they realize, oh, it's your business card. So if you have things that you sell, go to moo.com and get your business cards two-sided with the thing, the picture of the thing on the back. I love this. I love the idea that my photographs are on the back of my business cards, and you can get up to 50 different pictures on the cards. You can probably get more. So I've picked out like 20 pictures I really, really like, and I haven't put them on the back of my business card. So moo.com is the website. Yes, Scott, you can collect them all. I think I got 20 photos on the back of the cards. So if you get professionally done cards, get professional looking cards, not the little flimsy floppy ones. Get hard card stock on them, because you're going to definitely want to make sure that you present yourself professionally when you're presenting a business card. Did you guys see this website? I thought this was so cool. This is what's the URL? I'll send you guys the URL in the IRC chat room and in the Telegram room. Everysecond.io is the website. And when you turn the site on, it starts counting up. But for example, I turned this on 80 minutes ago. And so in the 80 minutes this has been on, Apple sold almost 1,900 Apple Watches, 1,600 iPad Pros. They've made $31 million in revenue, $6 million in profit, 3.8 million apps have been downloaded, 1.1 iTunes songs a minute. It's kind of a neat little, it sort of gives you an idea of just what Apple is doing and how fast they're doing it. It's really a remarkable visual of Apple's business model, and a remarkable way to look at the products and services this company is doing every second of every single day around the world. It's really amazing when you think about it. Everysecond.io is the website if you want to go check it out for yourself. Did you know the Olympics started today? People don't realize this. They actually started today. The Canada played the first Olympic soccer game. The women's soccer has already started on the Olympics. The opening ceremonies is Friday, and I hope everything goes well for our friends in Brazil, for people in Rio, for the athletes, for the fans, for the attendees. Keep in mind, we had all these horror stories. We have horror stories before almost every Olympics, and in general, they come out really well. So hopefully, they will this time around. I always look forward to the Olympics. I watch as much of it as I possibly can, because quite often they are sports that you don't see any other time, like fencing. Fencing is never on TV unless it's the Olympics. And I love watching fencing. Weightlifting. But I don't like watching like the super heavyweights, like the guys my size and bigger. I like watching the little guys. Like these guys that weigh 100, I was going to say kilos, but that's not, like 100 pounds. And they're lifting 2 times, 3 times their body weight. It's incredible. I love watching those guys. And then, there's the big sports, the 100-meter dash kind of sports and that kind of stuff. Hell, I'll watch badminton. I watch every single Olympic sport. It just, I love sports in general. I love competition in general. And the idea that these folks aren't playing for money, a lot of them are, but they're playing for the love of their country. They're playing for their country. They're playing for their hometown. To me, is just wonderful. That being said, I don't care. The American TV does this. I don't know if any other country does this as much as the Americans do. The Americans will have like 3 hours of Olympic broadcasting. And I swear to God, 2 hours of it is feel-good human interest stories. Oh, this young man came from poverty and his mother died and he's battled cancer. I don't care. Honest to God, I don't care. Show me sports. I would rather have a Olympic channel for those heartwarming videos and then have the other Olympic channel be just the sports. Show me the beginning of the sport. Show me the sport. Show me javelin. I want to say I don't care that the javelin thrower has only got one arm, that they lost it in an accident with a bear. I don't care. Show me the sport. Don't care about the human interest stuff. I've never. For me, they I don't think they care about my personal life. I don't care about their personal life. Just show me the sport. MacBan says, "Hey, sorry, Canada. The U.S. women are going to mop up the competition again." Yeah, the U.S. women are going to win the Olympic soccer. They won it, I think, 5 years in a row. It's like the U.S. men are going to win Olympic basketball. That's just a given. MacBan says, "I'd like to send a big FU to NBC for tape delaying the games that are in the same time zone as the U.S." Can you believe this? They're tape delaying sports that are in the Pacific and Central and Mountain and Eastern time zones. There's no need for that. Show me the sport as it happens. If you want to do a recap that evening in prime time, or replay it in prime time. Because the problem is nowadays with social media, what's going to happen is there's going to be a sporting event. I'm going to see it on Twitter because you're not going to be able to avoid it unless you completely don't use social media through the 4 weeks of the Olympics. And then I'm not going to actually get to see the event until that evening. No, it's stupid. It's just the tape delay thing is just frickin' annoying. Scott Thrift, handball is amazing. Oh, yeah, I love Olympic handball. That's another sport you don't see any other time. In Europe, it's much bigger in Europe than it is here in North America. And I know it's on TV in Europe, but you never see like handball here in North America unless it's the Olympics. So, yeah, I love watching all those sports. What about you guys? Are there particular sports you're interested in, or do you watch the Olympics? Do you care? Are you a nationalist? Are you only... See, as much as I love watching Canadians compete, I'll watch any sport whether the Canadians are playing or not. Americans tend to ignore those sports where an American isn't competing, but I don't care. I watch them all. I watch the sport, not the flag. I care about the sport, not the country that the athlete's coming from. I still like watching Canadians compete, and I think it's because our nature is we know we don't win everything. So for here in Canada, you'll hear a lot of things about personal bests, which is really kind of cool that someone's gone to the Olympics and done their personal best in the marathon or in swimming. Or they didn't win. They didn't win the gold, but they did their personal best. And the Olympics are about. It's about the best, being the best. Does anyone else have a cheering order for countries competing? MacMan, for me, it's Canada, and then everybody else. I don't have a particular preference when it comes to an order of things. Later on in the show, we're going to talk about travel photography and what you should do, how you should approach traveling and taking pictures. But up next, we're going to talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com about telescopes and about emojis and guns and all the other weird things that are going on in the world today. This is your Mac Life. I heard you. I saw you on Twitter that you said you actually talked to Tim Cook. That must have been a big thrill for him. I've been working on that line all night long, man. Welcome back, folks. This is Your Mac Life. I am Shawn King, joined now in our phone by the man under the bridge, Jim Dalrymple. Jim, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. The Olympics start on Friday. Will you be watching?
Yeah, I like to watch the Olympics.
Anything in particular?
Let's see. Hockey.
That's Winter Olympics, you goober.
Oh.
This is the Summer Olympics, Jim.
Well, I like. I like watching Usain Bolt.
Yes, he's fun.
He is fun. I mean, I could outrun him, but he's fun.
You couldn't outrun Jim, but Usain Bolt, if he was running backwards, you still couldn't outrun him.
He
what?
He's good for an amateur.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. He's an amateur. Yeah, he's fun. I still remember the very first time we saw Usain Bolt run. It was, 2 Olympics ago? And where it seemed like with 10 yards to go, he threw his arms out and just like, yeah, baby. That was just like the most, that was the most arrogant but wonderful thing I'd ever seen in the Olympics.
I mean, he's so incredibly fast.
Yeah.
I really don't understand how a human can be that fast, but I'd take him on.
One of the sports that I've told the audience that I love watching, and one of those weird sports that you never see any other time. I love dressage, the horse dancing.
What the?
I know it's stupid. I don't, because to me it's the idea of all the work they went in to teach this horse to dance.
What podcast am I on here?
I know it's just a weird sport. I just like watching it. We were talking about it earlier. It's really pissing everybody off that NBC is tape delaying the sports for
they always do.
Yes, but it's in the same freaking time zone as us. Brazil's in the Eastern time. There's no need for the tape delay.
Brazil is actually in the Atlantic time zone.
Is it one over? Yeah, okay. But still, there's no need for the tape. I can understand if they want to replay the events in the evening, but show us live events as they happen live, because with social media nowadays, we're going to know the results of the vast majority of events just by accident on Twitter and Facebook.
Yep. Well, and that's the problem with NBC is that I remember the last Olympics 2 years ago, they did that. They tape delayed it, and why? You got to go to Canada to watch everything live. Canada had like 6 stations dedicated to live Olympics 24 hours a day. It was wonderful.
That's right.
And sure, they would show the Canadian stuff if they were on, but if not, they'd show everybody.
Yeah, that's the other thing I like about the Canadian coverage. Yeah.
And I mean, they were to see, but not with NBC.
It's frustrating. Speaking of frustrating, Apple's squirt gun emoji is a subtle dig on gun violence, according to the headline at the Mac Observer. For those folks who aren't following this, Apple has removed the gun emoji from its list of emojis and replaced the gun with a squirt gun. What are your thoughts and views? Good. Why?
I don't care. But you know what? If it's a dig at gun violence, then good. There should be a dig at gun violence. Why do we need gun violence?
But it's such a lame. If this is a dig, it's such a lame dig. It's so incredibly pointless. It's like those people on Twitter who will change their avatar to a particular color because it signifies support for the issue. You're not actually doing anything.
Yeah, well, if Apple took a gun and put in a water gun, then maybe it takes the oomph of a post or a tweet or something. I don't know. I don't really know. I don't like all the gun violence that goes on around the world.
No,
so
do I. But my point is, changing this emoji to a squirt gun isn't going to do a damn thing for one single instance of gun violence. It's literally
not
going to do nothing. What it's going to do, though, it's going to confuse people because this is only going to be available for those folks who are using iOS 10. So if you are jokingly sending your friend hey, I'm going to shoot you with a squirt gun icon, he's going to see a real freaking gun on his end.
Oh, come on.
Seriously, that's what's going to happen.
Come on.
That's what's going to happen.
Jeez, I think we're overthinking this a little bit too much.
No, because Apple's only making this change in its own operating system. They can't change it for Android. So there's going to be a miscommunication. I'm going to send you one graphic. You're going to see a completely different graphic.
Well, then if I think you're coming to kill me, I'll get my squirt gun out and be ready for you.
Jeff Gammon at the Mac Observer says, it isn't going to stop gun violence or mass shooting, but it is a way for Apple to show support for changes to gun laws. That just seems stupid to me. It does no such thing. It's also
we don't know why Apple did it, but
yeah, because Apple doesn't talk about this stuff. It's also a subtle reminder, he says, that pointing real guns at people is dangerous, potentially deadly. No, it's not.
Well,
plus, if this was about violence, then why leave the knife icon? Why leave the car icon? There's so many other icons that are also dangerous and deadly and legal. So for Apple to do it this way, it seems to be hypocritical of them.
Well, I don't know if it's hypocritical, but when we look at part of the problem in the world these days, it is guns. And I know people will say it's not guns that kill people, it's people that kill people.
No, it's bullets.
Yeah. I just, when you look at the amount of deaths in countries, basically every other country in the world except the U.S., there aren't that many gun deaths, even though some countries have more guns per capita than the U.S.
I agree.
But in the U.S., it seems to be just outrageous, the number of gun deaths. And,
Absolutely.
I don't see the need for it, but yet it's there. And
but my point is this:
I know that this is not going to do anything. It's not going to eliminate a single death. But why bother having a gun there in the first place? The NRA can make their own gun emoji.
It's such a limp dick response, though.
Oh, it's not a response at all. That's the thing. Just let it go.
According to Dave on The Loop, this is a response to a radar that somebody sent in Apple.
Well, then you should have Dave on the show.
Don't think I won't, young man. I will turn this podcast around and go get Dave. Why Apple wants you to believe the iPad Pro is a computer. Apple put out an ad last week, interesting little ad, showing off the abilities of the iPad Pro. It felt kind of like a Surface ad, though. Do you think that this message is going to get across to people that the iPad Pro is a viable alternative to the average person's PC?
You know what? I care more about the squirt gun than I do. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. No,
Jeez, it feels like I'm interviewing Peter Cohen. God damn it!
Here's the thing. Now I'm going to turn this around. Now
All right.
that was just a joke. Here's the thing about the iPad Pro and the iPad in general is that I don't think a lot of people, non-tech people,
Yep.
understand how much of a computer the iPad Pro really is.
Yep.
And I think that was the message that Apple was getting, not to take sales away from the Mac, or not that they're going to kill the Mac or anything like that. It was, do you want a portable computer? Well, here it is. Here you go. It's an iPad Pro, and it can do everything that you need it to do. And for a lot of people, that's absolutely the case. And
Yep.
I was reading something by Ben Brooks yesterday about, or was that today? Today, using Ulysses. And Ben said that, his main thing right now is the iPad, and that's what he uses. We all know about Federico.
Yep.
And Fetici uses an iPad for absolutely everything.
Exclusively, too, yeah.
Exclusively, yeah. Now, I use an iPad for a lot of stuff, but I'm too old to change my ways completely. So I still use a Mac. But I use my iPad Pro a lot, and I love it. It's still not my main computer, but, and I think that's the point that Apple was trying to get across. Not like a Surface Pro where, okay, this device will act as both things.
Yep.
No, but the iPad is still an iPad. But if you want, this could be your next computer. And I think that's a fair statement for Apple to make.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I think that it's an interesting ad for showing people that, hey, think about the iPad in a different kind of way. Think about using it when you go to buy your next computer, and there's a certain bubble of people who are looking to get rid of their 4, 5, 6-year-old desktop machine, say. And Apple is saying, hey, when you go to the store, go down the other end of the mall and go look at the iPad Pro and see if this might be able to solve the issue. Because, like you said, for the average person who all they're doing is email, they're surfing the web, they're playing a couple of games, they're texting mom kind of stuff. Yeah, the iPad Pro is definitely enough computer. You have to get fairly specialized. Absolutely. You have to get kind of particular before the iPad Pro stops being a viable computer for the average person. Like you and I, for example, we can't because of the nature of our jobs. But for a lot of other folks, yeah, it's absolutely could be a computer.
Well, even we could probably do it if we really put our minds to it.
Yeah, maybe.
We probably could.
Yep.
I don't see the need, to be perfectly honest.
Yep.
And, that's not something that I feel I have to do. I like using the best device for the job that I'm doing.
Yep.
And for most of my daily work, the best device is a Mac.
Yep.
And, I have my MacBook. Right now, I'm actually using the MacBook, a 13-inch MacBook Pro with Sierra on it. And, it's brilliant. It's great.
For me, it's a matter of I don't want to work that hard to change my workflow to work with an iPad Pro. I'd love to have an iPad Pro. But right now, because, once you get old, you're set in your ways, and I know how to do everything I need to do on my iMac. I know I could probably do a lot of it on the iPad Pro. And if I worked hard enough at it, I could be a Federico and do everything on the iPad Pro. But I don't have to. I don't need to. But for a lot of folks who ask me about computers, I ask them how they use their present computer. And I can honestly tell them, you should look at picking up an iPad. It could be the only computer that you need. So I like these ads from Apple.
I like it too. I said that on the post that I liked the ad. I thought it was a good ad, but I wasn't looking at it like some people were as, a Surface ad, because the Surface is still a different thing to me because they keep comparing the Surface to a Mac.
Yes.
Whereas to me, the iPad ad said, this could be a computer for you depending on your use.
Yeah.
And I like that, the way that they did that. So
this is an interesting story. It might be a little bit inside baseball, but I know you know her. I know her. Former Apple PR exec Natalie Karras leaves Twitter after only 6 months. Is this a bad sign for Twitter?
Well, Twitter is such a funny company.
Yep.
You know, you look at Jack and everything that Jack has done, and make no mistake, he's a very smart guy.
Sure.
I mean, he has done a few companies, and you know, he's with Twitter. He's got that whole founder thing going on, and you know, great guy. But they have no idea how to make money.
Yeah.
They can't keep executives to save their lunch. They just can't keep anybody.
Yeah.
So, you know, you really have to wonder what's going on. And when, you know, some top people that they've had and lost, including Natalie, you know, Nat was a senior director at Apple for years under Katie Cotton. So, you know, it's not like she's just some PR person.
Yeah, that's right.
And then, you know, to lose her, and I don't think that Nat really needed to take that job in the first place.
I agree, yeah.
You know, because she worked at Apple for a long time. She was a high-level person there. I don't think that she needed it. She probably wanted to go and do something for a bit after Apple, but then to see her leave, that doesn't look good for Twitter.
Arcsign says, Shawn, ask Jim if it's time for Twitter to sell.
Well, you know, John Schwartz, you know John.
Yep.
John Schwartz wrote an article on USA Today.
Yep.
This afternoon that I linked to, whether it was time for Twitter to sell. And apparently there's a prince in Saudi Arabia and Steve Ballmer that are looking to take it over.
Yeah.
And I shuddered when I read Ballmer's name.
No kidding.
I really did. I just shuddered. But, you know, it's two people to come in and do, you know, billions of dollars to take over, to buy Twitter. I mean, even though they're not making any money, you know it's going to be billions upon billions to buy that. And I don't know if it's time for Twitter to sell or not. It's time for Twitter to figure out how to make money that's not going to piss off all its users, but the users are going to be there regardless, I think. Yep. And, you know, John said that Twitter is feeling the heat from companies like Google and Facebook and all the social things that they have. But for me, Twitter is completely different than all of those things.
Agreed.
You know, so I don't see the other social networks as competition for what Twitter does. And I said that at least for me.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm not really involved in a lot of the other social networking apps that are out there. Snapchat, I don't get that. But hundreds of millions of people do, so, you know, maybe I'm the odd one out there.
No, me and you both.
Yeah, but you're old like me, so. You know, I just don't get some of these other things and the appeal of them as much as I do Twitter. So, you know, there's different things, I think, that appeal to different people. And maybe Twitter is going to lose users to these things like Snapchat and Instagram stories, which is basically Snapchat that they stole and admitted they stole.
Yeah.
You know, so
it's really weird that we it seems like the media and maybe the markets have this idea of the old Highlander idea that can only be one. What's wrong with Twitter having 250 million users and making whatever amount of money they make? They don't have to beat Facebook. They don't have to always be number one. And the other weird thing about Twitter is that it's and I love Twitter. I'll be the first one to admit I'm on Twitter 24 hours a day. Love Twitter. Love talking to people on Twitter. So I'm biased in that regard. But it seems like Twitter, for what it is, for those who use it, is a really good service. But the people behind Twitter don't seem to know what the hell they're doing. A perfect example popped up today. This woman posts, Michelle Marshall, posts this thing on Twitter, and she said the head of the trust and safety department at Twitter is a woman who doesn't use her legal name. You're the head of the trust and safety department at Twitter, and you don't use your real name. Now, we understand why she doesn't use her real name, because she gets abuse and all this other kind of stuff. But the thing is, this was a story in Elle magazine. If you don't want to use your name, you're trying to hide your identity, you don't do interviews for Elle magazine. It took the internet 2 minutes to discover her real name.
Yeah.
So the people who run Twitter don't understand Twitter. And that can't bode well for the company.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if that's a thing or, if that matters at all. But when you look at, you said that the people behind Twitter can't really get their act together to make money. Who is it that you would see able to make money with a company like Twitter? I don't know of anybody.
Yeah.
I don't know of anybody that could make money doing what Twitter does.
Well,
it's just such a messed up business in the first place.
Yeah.
How make money? I have no ideas for them.
I think what it is that their expectations for Twitter are to be the next Facebook, and you can't do that. You can't be that big given the constraints of Twitter. Twitter needs to have somebody. Go ahead. Go ahead.
That means ads. You're saying that ads are the way for Twitter to make money.
Possibly, but people have thrown this idea out there for years now, and Twitter seems to ignore it. How about letting us pay for Twitter? I'd pay $2 a month for Twitter. I'd pay $5 a month for Twitter, maybe. I'd pay a small amount of money for Twitter to give me extra features, to give me a little blue check mark, or to let me do more characters. Hey, there's an idea. I get 280 characters if I pay $3 a month for Twitter, or whatever it might be. There's all kinds of ideas out there. Hey, I'm a paid member of Twitter, so you will pay attention to me more when it comes to blocking the assholes that are out there, when it comes to the tools. Twitter doesn't seem to understand this kind of stuff.
Okay, well, I'm going to pay $5 just so you can't block me.
Well, everyone has to have the same rules. That's right. All right, I'll see you. I'll pay $7. Yeah, I get that. But it is definitely. It feels like a really weird company that doesn't, with the people who buy it, who just don't seem to understand what's going on. The guys who do understand what's going on, Didi. Isn't it kind of interesting that a month after Apple gives them $1 billion, the check clears and they buy Uber?
Yeah.
Doesn't it
funny
feel
about that?
Doesn't it feel it's exactly what had happened? That whoever the head of Didi in China went to Tim Cook and said, "Dude, can you loan a brother some money?"
I'm going to try that next.
Yeah,
I'm going to send Tim an email.
No kidding.
Tim.
The downside of that, though, is that that's one more thing that could scare off Western companies from doing business in China, because Uber, for all intents and purposes, wasn't a very big success in China. Uber, the Chinese government has blocked Google. They've prevented other companies from doing the things that they want to do in favor of Chinese companies. So this might send a signal to Western companies, don't bother coming into China. And Apple needs China.
Well, they do. They certainly do, but Apple is one of the Western companies that helped buy it. Yep. So there you go.
True.
I got to get their beer. You notice I'm not at a pub this week. I waited.
You don't have to wait. You can go to the pub whenever you want, brother.
No. I didn't want to do that today. Last week, Last week I forgot that you were calling, and then I ended up at a pub, and and that was awkward. So
some of our best interviews have been when you've been drinking.
Well, that would be every week then.
Heavily. Sorry, I meant to say heavily.
I'm drinking.
Heavily.
Okay.
Drinking, yeah.
Heavily. Well, that would be this week.
Another one of those stories that popped up. We just briefly mentioned it. That the whole Snapchat, Instagram thing about creating stories that only last for 24 hours. I don't understand that. I don't understand. Why do you want to create a story that goes away in 24 hours?
I don't know.
Yeah, that just completely confuses me why this is a thing, even among young people. Why don't you want a story that you're telling to last? Why are these stories only 24 hours? I honest to God, I do not understand that. If there's a young person out there who can point me to some way to figure this out, I'd be more than happy to listen, because it just confuses the hell out of me.
Yeah, I don't get it, but there's got to be one of your listeners now that's young enough to figure that out.
I hope so. Something that no one can figure out was a ridiculous Market Watch story by Vivek Wadhwa. It's time to license the operating system and undo the mistake of 30 years ago.
Go away.
That was the single most remarkable headline I read all week. Undo the mistake of 30 years ago. Apple is the single largest publicly traded company in the world. It makes billions of dollars. It sells millions and millions of devices every single 3 months. And somehow that's all been a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah.
If this doesn't point to the problems that we have in journalism today, I don't know what is. There's no way this story should have ever have made the front pages of Market Watch. The editor of this story should have gone, no, you're an idiot. I'm not posting this.
Right.
This is the dumbest thing you could possibly write.
But they're looking for page views.
Yep.
So that's what the world has come to.
And I get that idea.
And continues to come to.
I get that idea, but why do you want page views where everyone's just saying you're stupid and losing respect for A, the writer, and B, the publication?
Because you get page views, and you can do the exact same thing tomorrow and get even more page views.
Yeah, I know.
Dvorak did that for years and made a career out of it.
He did. Yeah, I can't disagree with you on that. It's just frustrating. It's just an idiotic thought that what Apple did 30 years ago and how they got to where they are now is a mistake.
Well, and your initial reaction from this, and most people would be, are you insane?
Yeah, that's right.
And that's why we don't link to that stuff.
Yep.
Because it's why they're doing it, and even by us commenting on a story like that, we could get a lot of page views.
Yeah.
And we could do a lot of things, but we don't do that. I like the types of stuff that you posted today about the 5-year-old and stuff like that. To me, that's more entertaining, better for the readers, and better for the site than anything at all to do with stories like that. Yeah. Because everybody that reads the site or listens to the show is going to have the exact same reaction, and it's unfortunate that this is where we've come to.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if they get more page views out of that than what is normal, they'll continue to post stories like that.
That's true. Let's get you out of here on possibly the weirdest, silliest story of the entire week. So this guy just jumped out of a plane with no parachute and survived. Now
that's unfortunate.
Now Dave posted this on the Loop on Friday, and my first thought was they can't be showing this live. And I checked, and no, it was on a 7-second delay. But I posted the video on Saturday, and it was the guy survived, completely unharmed. I posted this on the video of the successful landing on the Loop, And my comment in the loop was, I don't understand why you would do this. I didn't understand the Felix Baumgartner thing. I don't understand this. To me, there's no point to it, except unless you wanted to see this guy miss and splatting into the desert, which I certainly didn't want to see. There's that purity and interest.
And you wouldn't with a 7-second delay.
Exactly, yeah. And when you and I were kids, Evel Knievel was on our TV every couple of months. And as kids, we wanted to see him crash. I'll be the first one. As a kid, I wanted to see him because the crashes were so much more fun.
You knew he was going to crash.
Right,
exactly. I think that somebody before Evel Knievel went out on his bike, somebody flattened a tire or something to make him crash because he always seemed to crash.
Yep. But I don't understand this stunt. The stunt didn't do anything.
We take. I actually, after you posted this thing, actually thought about this, and I was talking to a friend of mine about this, and that we actually take life-threatening risks every day. Every time we get in a car, we take a life-threatening risk. We're going 60 miles an hour, and I don't know about where you are, but in California, people are just animals driving. They don't understand the rules of the road at all. And so we take our lives in our hands. But jumping out of a plane without a parachute, and you have to land. You're reaching terminal velocity and you have to land. And no, I'm sorry.
I don't understand.
I don't understand.
And when Felix Baumgartner did his thing from the edge of space, it was the same thing to me. It was like, I don't care. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't advance anything. People said, it advances technology. No, it didn't, because all the technology was already done. Yeah. And human beings aren't going to ever have to do this.
Well,
Scott Thrift says that it's a great stunt, but also an interesting idea, like wingsuits, etc. Stunts like this lead to innovation. But there's no innovation to being a rock.
Yeah.
I get the idea of wingsuits, and you have to practice wingsuiting, and it develops better wingsuits. This has nothing to do with wingsuits, nothing to do with parachute designs, nothing to do with all this. Proved was that the guy who built the net can capture someone at terminal velocity. So maybe there's innovation in netting.
So netting is the big thing here. It's about the net, not anything else.
Could be, yeah, could be.
Let's find out who made the net and invest in them.
That's right.
Like my telescope fetish these days.
Yeah, what's up with that? How come all of a sudden you've got an interest in telescopes?
So
that's kind of neat.
You know that I think that I know that Peter and I have certainly talked before. I like to watch shows when I go to bed.
Okay.
I always watch TV when I go to bed because I can't sleep.
Yep.
So I turn on these shows. So one of the shows that I usually watch murder shows.
Okay. Given your personality, I understand that.
Yeah, a Discovery Channel murder shows.
Okay.
I watch them quite a bit, and lately I've started recording. What's it called? NASA's Unexplained Files.
Oh, geez, really?
Yeah. So I understand that it's just a lot of crap out there.
Yes.
So, but they keep showing pictures of the planets and stuff, and I think, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Like, these things are just kind of hanging out there. So I started getting interested in space. And what do you mean, oh, really?
Because those are the kind of alien in space kind of stuff shows, aren't they?
No.
Okay.
NASA's Unexplained Files are pictures from like the International Space Station, and
okay.
they see No, you're thinking of shows like Ancient Aliens
Yes,
and stuff.
exactly.
Although,
Yeah.
yeah, but NASA's unexplained files are unclassified documents from NASA and videos where, and they're talking to astronauts about things that they've seen in space, like, unexplained things that they've seen in space.
Yeah.
Like lights and stuff like that. And most times they explain them and say, well, this was, a reflection from a solar array off the International Space Station or whatever. But it's still fascinating. And they show, like they talk about the craters on the moon
Yep.
and they talk about all this stuff. So I started, looking around at some of this space stuff, and I get interested in it. I mean, so I started looking at telescopes and different observatories and things like that, and it's fascinating stuff. It really is.
Do you remember the first time as a kid seeing the Milky Way? Do you remember when that moment when you looked up and saw the billions and billions of stars of the Milky Way?
No.
I do. I was.
What do you mean? You look up and saw the Milky Way?
You and I are from the same hometown, Halifax. As a kid in Halifax,
Yeah.
I saw the usual amount of stars. I didn't know about this Milky Way thing until I moved to Bridgewater, Nova Scotia, to a farm out in the middle of nowhere outside of Bridgewater. And I got
okay. Let's be clear. The quote unquote farm was a prison. So
it was a prison farm. It was a prison farm. And I remember being outside that first time. I got dropped off after a basketball practice and walking up the laneway to get to my dad's farmhouse, and looking up and literally being stopped dead in my tracks. I was 14 years old, for the first time seeing that bright band of stars across the whole sky, and just being completely blown away. I had never seen the Milky Way. When you live in the city, you see the Big Dipper and Orion and the North Star. You see the very, 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 very bright stars. Get outside the city. Get a couple hours outside of your city and go outside on a moonless night, and your mind will be blown by the Milky Way. It's utterly incredible. And then you get to with a telescope and being able to see the moons of Jupiter and the rings of Saturn. That stuff is just incredible. Have you nailed down what kind of telescope you want to get?
Oh, I don't. No, there's no. First of all, I should say, on behalf of all the listeners of your show, I'm glad that the warden allowed you to play basketball.
Well, I was very tall, so
yeah. That warms my heart a little bit, but
well, it's all part of the rehabilitation. You got to give the inmates something to
do. No, it's not. I get so much advice today from readers of The Loop, because I posted over the weekend about, the best bang for your buck telescopes on a space site. And then I posted today about some telescopes on Amazon. And I get so much advice from people about, well, here's what you really need. And, you want to get something like this because, a 6-inch lens as opposed to this one, because you won't really be able to see anything with this one and you'll be disappointed. And it was just fascinating to see how many people have this fascination. So
my only piece of advice for you was, and for our listeners, if you haven't, go buy the app Star Walk. Go to the App Store.
Yes.
STAR Walk. It's an amazing app. It's really kind of cool, because what you do is you download the app and then you go outside at night and you hold your iPad up to the night sky, and it's like a mirror to the stars in the sky, and it will tell you what those stars are, where that constellation is. And as you move around as you move the iPad around the sky, you'll see the app move around, and you'll see where the moon's going to rise and where Cassiopeia is, and you'll be able to start identifying constellations and individual stars. And it's a really, really cool app, and it's usually under $5. It's definitely worth it. Star Walk is the app. Definitely go get it. Folks, I've been talking
Good
to
advice.
I've been talking to Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. He's here each and every week. He has his own podcast, 2 of them, as a matter of fact, up on the iTunes store. Do a search for Jim Dalrymple, and they will pop up. Jim, thanks very much for joining me, buddy. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Shawn.
Talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks very much to Jim for being on the show. As usual, yeah, Star Walk, it pops up on sale every now and then for 99 cents, but for $5, grab the app, especially if you have an iPad. It's a really, really cool app and a lot of fun to play around with. I noticed Scott Thrift posted a URL to youcanseethemilkyway.com, which is kind of a neat, looks like a neat website. I'm going to save that one for later. If you have any advice for Jim on telescopes, if you know anything about telescopes, send Jim an email or post on the Loop and let Jim know what your experience is with telescopes. In our starting point photography segment this week, I got great news from the tour operator who is going to be doing the tour aspects of the trip I want to do. I'm hopefully, fingers crossed, going to do next April. Started narrowing things down. We're going to do it after Easter, so it'll be the late April, early May. That's the general time frame. No pricing just yet. It's going to be Portugal. It's going to be 9 nights in hotels, 4 nights in Lisbon, 2 nights in Porto, 2 nights in the Douro Valley, which is the wine region, and 1 night in Sintra. All transportation will be included, so all the buses and the coaches to get us around will be included in the price. The guide services will be included in the price. There'll be a daily breakfast for all nine days. There'll be meals, there'll be 4 lunches and 3 dinners. You're on your own for the rest. And 7 private tastings at wineries in the area, and a boat trip in the Douro Valley. Now, that's all the stuff that the tour operator is doing. Then there's the stuff that the photography stuff is going to be doing. I sent them a preliminary itinerary of the kind of things that I'm thinking about doing. So, for example, the first morning we'll do over breakfast a little hour-long class on how to get good pictures. And then the next day, and then we'll go out to a place to take pictures, and then you're on your own for the afternoon. And you can follow along with me. I'll be going someplace. If you want to go on a photo walk with me, you're more than welcome to go on a photo walk with me. And then that evening, there'll be something else going on. There might be a dinner that evening. There might be dancing, whatever it is. Then the next day, we'll do another class on photography. And then we might do a sunrise shoot one morning or a sunset shoot. We'll do a landscape shoot. We'll do a street photography shoot. We'll do a portrait shoot. There'll be all kinds of different aspects of photography that you'll get a chance to practice with. And they'll be focused on the places we go. So, for example, there's this really, let me see, I can't find this real quick. Flickr. There's this really neat area. I didn't know what this was until I saw it on Flickr. And there's this thing on Flickr, or this thing, initiation well. I said that. I think I posted that right. Yeah, there's this really, really cool thing in Portugal in this town called Sintra, and it's called the Initiation Well. I'd never heard of it until I went on Flickr to see what they were talking about. So there's a certain kind of shooting condition at this initiation well. So what we'll do is the morning before we go to a particular place, we'll have a little bit of a class and focus on taking pictures of that thing. So when we go to the wineries, we'll have a class on how to shoot landscape shots. When we go downtown, we'll have a class on how to do street photography. So the classes will be targeted at the events and the things that we're going to do as we go through the various areas that we're talking about. So that's kind of the idea of what we're doing. We're going to focus. They're going to focus on Portugal, and then I'm going to focus on what kind of aspects of photography we can do at these various places in Portugal. So at one point we'll be traveling on a bus. And the other thing is this will be a small group. This won't be a group of 50 or 100 people. This is going to be a group of a minimum of 10 and a maximum of 20. I don't want to go around with more than 20 people because that just, I'm herding cats after a while. And about half the time, you'll be on your own. You'll do your own tourism stuff. If you want to come and hang out with me while I go to a museum or go to an art gallery, you're more than welcome to. But half the time, you'll be able to go and do your own touristy kind of stuff. But I really like. I don't like the idea of these tours that have every single moment, every single day is organized for you. Some folks like that, and I have no problem if that's what you like. I personally don't like that and don't want to be part of that. I don't want to have to babysit people 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 9 or 10 days. We'll do things like talking about the exposure triangle, talking about seeing the light, shooting small, shooting big. There'll be all kinds of different things. So if you're interested, please send me an email. We've already got 3 people who are seriously interested. We're all waiting for money right now. We're all waiting to find out how much this is going to cost. I'm guessing ballpark, and this is just a number I'm throwing out there. I have no clue whether this is the actual number. My brain says about $3,000 for the 9-day trip, and that is expensive. Let's say 10 days. But that's $300 a day, which is, I don't think, all that bad, because that's your hotel. You know, that's 9 nights hotel. That is all your transportation around Portugal, because we're not going to be just in Lisbon. We're going to be taking trips. There's at least 5 trips that will be going on. 7 meals. Sorry, more than 7 meals, because you have 9 breakfasts and 7 other meals. And then the photography classes. So it doesn't sound unreasonable. Yeah, $3,000 is a lot of money. But I think when I look at the big picture, it doesn't feel like that's it. But I have no clue what it is. Scott says, is that including airfare? I don't know, Mac Man. I don't know what they're going to be able to do airfare-wise. I do know, though, that they did talk about they were going to have 2 packages. One where they would take care of your flight for you and obviously charge you for it. Or 2, you figure out your own flight and you just pay for the package tour. And I think that one's going to be more attractive to people. I think. You can either have the travel agent just do all of it and you just call them up and say, I live here, get me to Lisbon. Or you can say, I'd love to go on this photo thing, but I'll find my own way to Lisbon. If you live we get a lot of listeners who live in Europe. Maybe they can find their own ways to Lisbon. Folks who live in the States can fly JetBlue to New York and then get an inexpensive flight to Lisbon. I don't know about the details of that. I don't think airfare is going to be included unless you live here in Vancouver. You know what I mean? Unless we can all go in the same plane to Lisbon together. And not everyone who's going to be, I hope, not everyone who's going to be involved is going to be solely here in the Vancouver area. I'm really looking forward to hoping it's a bunch of folks from all over the place. So one of the things that is important when you travel anywhere and want to take pictures, the first thing I do, and I spent all last weekend doing this, is do some research. You have the internet. You have Google. You have Wikipedia. Look up the name of the place you're going, the country, the city, the valley, whatever it might be, and do some reading about it. And as a photographer, I really encourage you to go to Flickr and do a search for it, because Flickr will give you an idea of the general area, but also give you some ideas of particular places and images that you might want to see. I had a blast on the weekend going through so many photos on Flickr about Portugal and Lisbon and the Douro Valley and all these other kinds of things, just seeing what's there. And for me, the other thing was it was all about seeing what what kind of pictures other people had taken and how other people saw Lisbon, how other people viewed Portugal. And there's even some photos that I saw that I'd like to take. And I thought, okay, I'll make a note of that. I'd like to go to that place and take those pictures. The other thing, because what I like to do is to look at these photos because you want to take pictures that are representative of the place you're going. You know, don't take a travel photo that you could get in your hometown. Don't take the same picture that you can get in downtown Vancouver or downtown Toronto or downtown Houston. There's no point in traveling if that's what you're going to do. Look for ideas of images of things and places and people and objects that you can't see anywhere else. And make note of those. You don't have to recreate the image. It doesn't have to be the exact same picture. But looking on Flickr gives you an idea of what other pictures people have taken, and maybe give you some inspiration to go search those places out to take your own pictures. So that's something I've been doing a lot of over the last few days, is just research on the physical locations. It also depends on what kind of photographer you are. If you're a landscape photographer, do research on the landscape that you're looking at. Where is the highest point of land in the area that you're going to be? Where is the beach? Where are interesting buildings, museums, churches, government buildings? Where are those? For me, as a street photographer, I was doing research on farmers markets and those kinds of shopping districts and those kinds of things, because I want to take pictures of people and people that are going about their everyday lives in Lisbon, in Portugal. Those are the kind of shots that I like to take. And when you do with those kinds of shots, you have to be obviously very careful. You're in a strange city, strange environment, strange language. Do some research on what you can and can't do in these different places. What's appropriate dress to wear? We were in Vatican City, Lisa and I, and she wanted to go into St. Peter's, and she was wearing shorts. It's like, no, you can't go into St. Peter's on a Sunday wearing shorts. Sorry. They're not going to let you. The Swiss Guard will poke you and make you go away. So find out what appropriate dress is for you. Find out what's appropriate culturally, too. Maybe some people don't like having their picture taken. When I was in Turkey, I took very few pictures because I knew a lot of folks were Muslim and women, and they wouldn't have wanted their picture taken. So I didn't take very many pictures of people in Turkey. What are the rules of taking pictures of children? I always ask parents or ask an adult in the area, is it okay to take a picture? And you don't have to know the language. You don't have to know how to speak Portuguese. You just point your camera at the kids with a big smile on your face, and if they say, then you don't. And don't sneak the photo. If you ask permission and the person says no, don't then try to take a sneaky photo, because that gives them license to be pissed off at you. So don't do that. If someone says no, walk away. There's other shots to be gotten. MacMan says, ask first is the first and only rule. Good way to get your ass kicked otherwise. Scott Thrift says, dress code can be both cultural and climatic. Always good to find out how the locals dress and follow their lead. Exactly. Luckily enough, Portugal is a Mediterranean country. After the springtime there is very, very mild, about 15 degrees, mid-60s, so it'll be nice for us. The other thing about taking pictures of people is have your camera ready. Don't ask permission to take a picture, and then the person says sure, and then you have to go, hang on a second, I got to set aperture this, and I got to set my scene mode to this. No, Have your camera already ready so you can just grab the camera, snap, snap, take out pictures, and you're done. Don't make the subject wait for you. Don't make them stand around when you've asked them to take their picture. Be ready to take the shot. And that's true of all your photography. When I go out on these kinds of things, when I'm being a photographer, I'm thinking like a photographer, I'm thinking about a thing, an object, a concept I want to shoot. So maybe one day it'll be cityscape or landscape. Maybe one day it'll be portraits. And my camera is already set up for those things. I'm looking for those things. So I don't have to mess around too much with the buttons on my camera. I don't have to waste a lot of time. When you're a tourist, you don't want to, if you're not with a bunch of other photographers, you don't want your family and friends to have to wait around for you while you try to figure out the light. While you try to figure out what ISO I should have, what aperture I should have, what shutter I should have. Know that stuff beforehand. So you're not wasting your time and, frankly, their time, too. Learn the basics of the local language. How to say hello. How to say thank you. How to say, can I take your picture? That's just a given for everyone who travels. And it's fairly easy nowadays to do that with 100 different translator apps on the App Store, with an app that I like to use and I've been playing around with called Duolingo. Duolingo is a lot of fun. It walks you through step by step nouns and then verbs on a particular language. So get a translator app. A lot of them are free. Google Translator is free. Duolingo is free, I think, for a few modules. And practice the language. They will definitely appreciate it. They will definitely like the fact that you've made an attempt at learning some of their words. One thing, there's the camera you bring is very important too. Now, for me personally, I like my big DSLR. I like my Nikon D600. I'm not going to take any other camera. I don't mind lugging around a great big DSLR, but a lot of folks don't want to. So if you don't have one already, your iPhone can take good pictures in the right conditions. Learn what those conditions are and stick to those conditions. Don't try to use your iPhone to take night shots of people in a bar. It's not going to come out well. Keep to bright daylight, close-up shots of people's faces or wide shots of fruits and things like that. Know what your iPhone can do and what it can't do, and you'll get good shots. Maybe you want to step up and get a DSLR. I strongly encourage everybody who doesn't already have one, take a look at mirrorless cameras. Go to your local Best Buy. Go to your local camera store. Ask around. Mirrorless cameras are significantly smaller, lighter than the big DSLRs. They're less conspicuous as the big DSLRs, and they're they make you less noticeable. Now, I don't mind being noticed, but some folks don't want to be. I've raved over the years about the Olympus M1 that I carry around. But Olympus makes the M10 and the M5. Sony makes a great mirrorless camera. Fuji makes great mirrorless cameras. A lot of companies make really good mirrorless cameras. Get a good strap. Do not have your camera just held in your hand, because it can be easily knocked out of your hand in crowds in the market, or it can be easily stolen out of your hand. Make sure you've got a good strap that goes around. I love the Luma Loop strap. I've used the Black Rapid strap. Both are really good straps for carrying your camera around. I also like the Peak Design clutch as a camera holder too. Wayne says, expensive camera while traveling sounds like a great way to become a target for robbery. It can be, but that's true of any gear that you have. It doesn't have to be an expensive camera. It depends on who you are and where you are. It's the other thing you do in research is find out, stick to the touristy areas or stick to a group. MacMan says, I almost clobbered someone in Chicago after they hit me in the head twice with a selfie stick. Yeah, they wouldn't have gotten a second chance with me, MacMan. Scott Thrift says, I get hit with them heaps. Being 6'5" puts me at the height those things seem to live at. That's right. I can see that would be a problem. One thing I like to do when I'm traveling, and this is only if you have the luxury of doing it, I like to stop in one place. Find some place that's visually interesting, with an interesting background, with a lot of people, and just stand in that one place and take pictures in that one place. You don't have to keep walking. Like some of the photo walks that I'll do in Portugal will be photo stands. We'll just literally stop in this spot and take pictures of people and things and the light around us. So sometimes do that too. Just stop. As tourists, we tend to seem to think that we have to keep going all the time. We'll get our money's worth. We keep walking, we keep walking, we keep walking. You don't have to do that. Sometimes just stop and look around you and see what you can see. One of the things I'm going to look at with our group is using Facebook or Instagram or Flickr to aggregate photos. Because that's one thing I really like to do when I'm traveling with a group of photographers is I can see my photos, but I want to see your photos too. So if you travel with a group, work out some situation, if you're the nerd of the group, work out some way that you can collect their photos and post them somewhere, or create an Instagram account for the group, or a Flickr page for the group, or even a Facebook page for the group where everyone can post their photos and comment on the photos there. I like that. To me, I know a lot of photographers don't think this way, but to me, photography is a social thing. If we've gone to the same place, I want you to see my photos, but I want to see your photos too. I want you to see how I look at the world, but I want to see how you look at the world too. So look at some ways of sharing your photos and having everyone in the group be able to see the photos together. Another thing I do when I'm traveling is it's something I call see big, see small. See the big picture of where you are, but also look for small details too. So you walk into a market in Lisbon. So take that big picture of the bright stalls and the fruits and vegetables and the people. Take a wide shot of that to sort of establish where you are, and then start looking for small details. Look for people's hands that are manipulating some odd fruit that you've never seen before, with a sign in Portuguese next to it. Look for people's faces. Look for animals. Look for details that you can't see in the big picture. So see big and also see small too. It helps you look at the entire scene. Scott Thrift says, Shawn, a massive issue most people don't think about is mobile data while on holiday. The group needs to chase up a mobile SIM for the country you're going to, or find out the data rates for your provider. Yeah, I'll definitely be doing that, Scott. One of the things I'll be doing for this group, once we get this nailed down, is I'm going to set up a newsletter where I would send out this kind of information of, hey, here's a good data provider. Here is internet cafes. Here's the cost of that kind of stuff. Scott says uploading photos to Flickr via your iPhone can use amounts of data. Exactly, yeah. So I'll definitely be checking that stuff out ahead of time and letting folks know beforehand of what they can expect when they get there. The most important thing, though, is enjoy yourself while you're there. Don't be taking so many pictures, or don't be so involved in taking pictures that you forget to have fun while you're there. One of the things I always tell folks is one of the big advantages of learning to become a better photographer is that, weirdly enough, you take fewer photographs. One of the problems we have as beginners is we sort of machine gun everything. You take a picture of every damn thing in the hopes that something good will come out. But as you learn how to use your camera, as you learn how to see light, as you learn how to become a better photographer and create and capture better images, you end up taking one picture or maybe two pictures. And then you sit down and enjoy your coffee. You don't have to constantly be taking pictures and not experiencing the place you're at. You end up experiencing it through a viewfinder. Well, that's not why you spend all this money. You want to experience it with your senses, not when you get home and look at your Flickr account. So if you become a better photographer now, you'll take fewer pictures when you're there, and I think you'll enjoy yourself more too. So that's one of the reasons why I'm constantly trying to get people to take a class, read a book, watch YouTube videos, get out and practice taking pictures. Practice, practice, practice. Because then when you go someplace, you can take pictures very, very quickly and not have to take 1,000 pictures to get one good one. You'll take 5 pictures and get one good one. And then you can relax and enjoy your vacation. As always, if you have any questions about this or anything else, if you have any questions about the photo workshop in Portugal next spring, send me an email, Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com. You guys know I love getting emails from you folks, so please send any emails you have where you have any questions or anything else along those lines. Got an email from our friend Scott Thrift, who's in the IRC chat room. By the way, I wanted to say, I don't think she's there anymore, but DJ McIntosh's girlfriend, who's an Android user, Katie, is listening. Hi, Katie. I want to send a shout-out to Katie. Scott Thrift says, jailbreaking, yes or no? Hey, Shawn, I've been seeing lots of articles on places like Flipboard about jailbreaking. I know this has been around almost as long as iOS, but I've never been game to do it. As I survive purely on iOS devices, I can't afford to break or brick one of them. Lately, I've been reconsidering my position as there are features, like being able to turn my old iPhone 4S into a Bluetooth speaker. I'd love your opinion and other listeners' opinion on jailbreaking. Jailbreaking is fun. It gives you features that Apple didn't include. Jailbreaking is dangerous. It could brick your phone. Never jailbreak on a device that you can't afford to throw in the toilet. That's basically what it is. If you need that device, if you rely on that device, if you work on that device, don't jailbreak it. Because there's no telling what can. Most jailbreaking is fine. Most jailbreaking cracks are safe and secure. I wouldn't say secure, but certainly safe in that they're not going to brick your phone. But every now and then, it happens. And that phone can then become a brick. So, yeah, if you've got an old iPhone 4S, yeah, go ahead and jailbreak it. But if you've got a brand new phone that you need to use every single day of the week and you rely on that phone, I would never jailbreak a phone I need. Never, ever, 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 ever. Scott says, I thought so. I shall not jailbreak my current phone. Yeah. Jailbreak I know folks who actually, I think it was Lauren Finkelstein, bought one of my old iPhones so he could jailbreak it. Because that's what he wanted to play around jailbreaking, but he didn't want to use his phone. So he, bought an old phone and messed around with it. I don't know if it's still working, but. Scott Randall, Long Island Macintosh User Group, says, hey, Shawn, listening to the show, the discussion about the MacBook is almost correct. A user buys what fills their needs. For me, the 11-inch MacBook Air is a better fit than the MacBook. I need the extra ports. When I'm teaching, I attach to a projector. The projector we have is VGA. I do always need an adapter anytime I plug into a projector, and the type always varies. I also always use a mouse, and I don't like depending on a wireless mouse, which forces me to carry extra batteries. There are other reasons I need the Thunderbolt port, but no need to go into them all. Having never used one, I have no way to judge how good or bad the MacBook is. I just know that the features lacking make it the wrong choice for me. However, I, and most people out there, do not have the experience to say that Apple is wrong in putting this computer in the lineup. They have a pretty good batting average at making devices that sell. Also, you can be pretty sure the first one sold well if they are producing an upgrade. Now, the only incorrect statement you made is that it is an entry-level computer. It is not priced that way. It is considerably more expensive than the 11-inch MacBook Air, which offers more, with the exception of the Retina screen. The entry-level 11-inch MacBook Air with 8 gigabytes of RAM is $1,000 with all the ports you would need. The entry-level MacBook with only one port and a slower CPU is $1,300. Now, the entry-level 11-inch MacBook Air has only 128 gigs of RAM. That's the only way it can be ordered. No, that's not right. 8 gigs of RAM. So it boils down to choice, and you can't have everything. You can get Retina and the lowest weight, only one port, or no Retina, a really negligible amount heavier but faster, all the ports you need. A quick thought on driverless cars, Scott says. I think once these cars get perfected, no one will be driving themselves. In fact, I think they will make a law. You won't own a motor vehicle. You'll pay a yearly subscription, and the car will pick you up and drop you off at the time you need. Outside of the joy of driving, for people who like to drive, everything else is a disadvantage. You don't have to worry about fuel, repairs, upkeep, accidents, insurance. And the company selling you the subscription will pay for the insurance. You also don't have to worry about parking. I'm sure there's lots of other things I've overlooked. I see it as a win-win. Yeah, I don't disagree with you, Scott. That's exactly where we're going to be going with driverless cars. They'll be electric. They'll be driverless. The problem is, what happens to rural areas? What happens to my mom who lives in the middle of nowhere, Nova Scotia? A driverless car is useless for her. Driverless cars will only be really popular in urban areas. And granted, urban areas are where most of the cars are, so that's where they'll make most of the difference. But that's going to be a problem for those folks who don't have access. Zipcar is a perfect example. I love Zipcar. I think Zipcar is a great idea. I can't use Zipcar. I don't live anywhere near a Zipcar. All the Zipcars here in the lower mainland are in downtown Vancouver. I'm an hour and a half away from downtown Vancouver. So Zipcars, which have all the advantages that you're talking about, they're cheaper. There's no insurance. There are few parking problems because Zipcars have their own parking spots. All those advantages are happening right now with Zipcars. The disadvantage is, unless you live near a driverless car or in a Zipcar area, they're not of much use to you, unfortunately. Scott sent me those links with backup SDs without computer. Thank you very much for that, Scott. I appreciate it. What other emails do I got from you guys this past week? I think that's it. That's it for emails. Got a bunch of photography questions, but we'll do those next time around. Folks, thank you guys very much for joining me. I appreciate it, as always, to you folks who are tuning into the show, whether you're listening in live or tuning into the archive. Just send me emails during the week, whenever you like, on air at yourmaclifeshow.com. If you want some more information about the Portugal photography trip, which is going to be amazing. Seriously, it's going to be fun. From what they've already described to me, just that will be fun. But then all the photography stuff and get to hang out with me? Come on. It's a win-win. As always, we encourage you to go to the front page of the website, yourmaclifeshow.com. If you're going to buy stuff from Amazon, please come to our website first and click on one of the Amazon links on the left-hand side of the page, because that, when you buy something, you don't even have to buy that thing that you clicked on. I get a bit of a kickback or a pimp fee from the nice folks at Amazon. As always, thanks to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com for joining me here on this Wednesday evening. And to you guys who are listening in live. Live audience is always the best audience. Thank you guys very much for joining me. As always, I've been Shawn King, and you're listening to Your Mac Life. See ya!